Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm wearing my rage hoodie, which has nothing to do with our Lord and Savior Virgil Abloh. And I just noticed that anytime one video is urgent enough for me to film at home in a hoodie at night with minimal preparation, it's always not a pleasant one. And I think today's not an exception because we're going to talk with you about the Vogue cover that featured our First Lady, Olena Zelenska, and of course a little bit of Zelensky. Like, she's gorgeous and he's just that. So apparently this Vogue cover caused a lot of backlash and speculations on social media about whether it's appropriate or not. And it all started with this very peculiar Instagram post from photographer Adam Bloomsberg. And okay, I'm not gonna say anything mean just yet. Let's take a look at the post. So, as our dear friend Adam says about the Vogue cover, this is everything that is wrong with the world and how dangerously photography can intersect with it. The idea of a conflict zone as a backdrop for an elaborate shoot for Vogue magazine is vile, posing the First Lady against a destroyed airplane in which people presumably died. And let's stop here. So it would take Adam 1 second to just Google 3 words. And what you can see, oh wow, it's a plane called Maria, which is the biggest cargo plane in the entire world, which has been made by Ukrainians on a factory called Antonov Factory, which produces airplanes in Ukraine, cargo plane, not passenger plane. And it is destroyed, right? Taken photos, plane destroyed, somebody died there. Well, if you read at least one article online, just literally first article on Wikipedia, you would know that in fact nobody died in that plane because at the time it was destroyed by Russians, it was in a warehouse in Hostomel Airport, a cargo plane that just wasn't removed from the warehouse. Nobody died there. And then you look at the photo and let's analyze this photo, right? So Zelenska is standing near the plane, and bear in mind, around her are only female military personnel, because actually 15% of Ukrainian military comprises of women, but people for some reason tend to forget about it. And kudos to Vogue for putting it out and remembering and reminding actually not only the world but us Ukrainians as well that women play a freaking important role in the war. But back to the plane. So Maria plane is not any average plane. Maria plane, which translates as dream, is the pride of Ukrainian nation, because damn, like, that's first of all the biggest plane in the world, so we have something to be proud of. And secondly, it's an evidence of how something so majestic and perfect was destroyed by barbaric world of Russia and barbarians that are Russian soldiers. The context here goes far deeper than just being a backdrop for the photo, because there are a lot of layers to it, which unfortunately, I'm surprised that Adam, being a photographer, didn't bother like digging into the reasons why this backdrop was even chosen. He just assumed it's a random plane. Why would someone take photo with a random destroyed plane as a backdrop? Like, that would be vile even for Vogue. Actually gets worse, this post. Then he goes, and says depicting a politician as an iconic hero without any nuanced understanding of their function and complicity in this 155-day-old brutal war. Did he just call Zelensky a complicit in this war? Did he really? Like, why would you give your opinion if you are so out of touch with reality? Why would you even dare to open your mouth on a topic that you know nothing about? And I think that's something that is very important to state, that Zelensky is just a president. He's not the president, he's just a president. And his function is representative. He does not hold major decisions. He does not decide everything in this country because he's not a dictator. He's just a representative of Ukrainian nation, not a dictator. So his role is diplomatic mainly, asking for weapons, communicating with the countries, and also just making sure everything runs smoothly. But he's not the one who is responsible for the military, because we have a wonderful, fabulous general that is ruling our military at the moment, which I think most Ukrainians are very happy with. It's not like Ukrainians complain, being like, oh, it's not our war, Zelensky, please stop. I've never seen this opinion from anybody around me. Nobody wants to give a single freaking piece of our land to Russia, because we already saw what happened with Crimea and Donbass. They never get enough. If we stop now, they will come again. And thank you, no. I guess now it's just time to finish it once and for all. So saying that Zelensky is a complicit in this war, rather than drawing attention to those who are actually responsible for this war, being Russians, and victim blaming for no reason at all, that's beyond vile. Like, you best to call this photo shoot vile, but the only thing that is really stinky here, that's you know, like those racist uncles who kind of like learned to not speak on like family reunions. That's a good actually behavioral model. Just, if you know your opinion is disgusting, just like don't say it. And then he continues, and it gets progressively worse. So the whole way this conflict has been covered, from the hierarchy of empathy we witnessed in the way white refugees were embraced, to the cowboy and Indian genre analysis of actual conflict. So Adam just comes from this insanely, randomly unnecessary American, and actually that's what I noticed, like a lot of these opinions we'll see later, they utilize this ultra American perspective, which works nowhere but America, and they try applying it to all the other countries and all the other conflicts and problems. So basically, he says that Ukrainians do not deserve to be treated well just because they are white. And that's absolutely such a detached from reality view, because Eastern Europeans, in fact, in Europe are not treated as white, in the meaning they don't receive as much of a privilege as, for example, a person from France or the UK would receive. So basically, we are white trash of Europe. So being white, does not necessarily bring any privilege to us. Surprise, surprise. What does it have to do with being a refugee? I remember there was a terrible trend going on when the war has just started, where people were filming the cars with Ukrainian license plates in Europe, and they were mostly, well, quite a lot of them were like Ferraris or G-Wagons or really expensive luxury vehicles. And basically in the context of like, how are these people called refugees? And it really took a few weeks to explain. People are not fleeing economic situations, people are not fleeing from political issue or any sort of crisis. People are fleeing because of war. So, refusing to help someone who flees from their home literally being bombed just because they're white is a little bit racist for me. And then he continues and blah blah blah. So he says that it confirms our need for a male hero with their female enablers. And yeah, I just can't deal with that. Like, look and analyze the photos. Like, you're a photographer, you can see what the photographer wanted to say with these photos. On most of them, Zelensky, the president, literally looks like his wife's lapdog. Like, he's just around her and he's just happy to be around her. Like, she looks so powerful on these photos, and in fact she's really well liked among people. So the focus is definitely on her and not on him being a hero. She is the one who is portrayed as a hero because, like, you can't just take all the women from Ukraine together for a photo shoot in Vogue because there are like, what, 20 million of women in Ukraine? You're not gonna get them all in one place just to take a photo. So she's just a reference, just an idea of Ukrainian woman who is fighting now for the country. And also, like, again, the focus is on women because we have female soldiers who are standing with her. And I don't know, I'm just getting so angry when people cannot do just like basic critical analysis. It just, I wish there was some sort of critical thinking training that people would take and not make such terrible conclusions as Adam. But then the last line, it just genuinely makes me laugh. So he says that don't get me wrong, blah blah blah, I'm not supporting Putin, but this shoot fits into all the toxic, heteronormative, patriarchal ideas that make war inevitable. So of course the war happens because of patriarchy and man, and Putin is bad, and also Zelensky is bad because he's straight, and his wife is also cisgendered woman. How terrible. I feel like all the problem with Adam could have been generally just fixed if Zelensky was gay and he had a photo shoot with his husband. Like, after that, Adam would be like, oh yeah, no, now now everything is fine. Yeah, they're not complicit in war, they are not war criminals, and shoot is fabulous. So I think we figured it out with Adam, and I give him 0 slays out of 10 for critical thinking. And let's move on to another fabulous opinion.
Controversial opinion. I do not like this cover at all. And it's not even so much about the cover. It's what about the marketing and the way that this war is being put forward. Here we have the First Lady in what is clearly a war zone. She's got full hair and makeup on, a designer coat, and she's sort of posing in a very egotistical stance. It's just not even realistic as to what the...
So she complains that Zelenska again is in a war zone wearing designer clothes. So with Maria, we already figured out why Maria is so important as a symbol for our nation. Secondly, she's standing in designer clothes. Well, bestie, she's wearing full Ukrainian outfit. Only Ukrainian designers. So what's your problem? The commercial part of Vogue and commercial part of Vogue photoshoot is absolutely taken away. It embraces only Ukrainian brands, which in fact, if the customers people, the readers who read Vogue, buy a single piece, it would contribute to Ukrainian economy. What is your problem?
And she's sort of posing in a very egotistical stance.
Egotistical stance, my ass. Like, first of all, she's the first lady. So, all she does is holding really modestly her coat when the wind is blowing, and the focus of course is on her, but again we see on the front, the closest to us, a female soldier, women of Ukraine. And I don't know how it just I need to concentrate. I'm getting way too angry with this. The idea of the whole shoot is again to convey the strength of Ukrainian women as a general, like, collaborative thing, not just Zelenska as a first lady. So this power stance, or like egotistical stance as she called it, first of all, it doesn't look egotistical at all. She looks very modest and tired, to be honest. But the power stance is the female soldier that stands in the front, the two female soldiers that stand behind her back. That's freaking power stance. And that is phenomenal. And the energy and just the way the shoot is directed, I think it's stunning. And I still think nobody asked for your opinion, Basti, but let's continue watching.
It's just not even realistic as to what the actual devastation is for Ukraine.
I wonder if she knows what actual devastation for Ukraine is, because I am someone who is currently living in Ukraine, and the house that's across the road has been bombed when it all just started. And I'm like, I mean, if you follow this channel, you know the whole story. I'm not gonna retell it again. And I look at this photo and I see empowerment. I see that the world really ignored the war in Ukraine for 8 years. So having it in your face like it is now from everywhere is the least the world can do. And I feel like the problem with this TikTok is that she herself just does not want to see war. But let's just take a look at what she suggests to replace these photos with.
What they should have done is showcase pictures like this and like this to show the horrible effects of what's actually going on.
The only horrible thing is you, Basti, and your opinion. So first of all, what does have Vogue to do with children that are being affected by war? Is it some Baby Shark Weekly? No, it is Vogue. And Vogue is, whether you want it or not, and it has always been, a publication for an upper class or upper middle class, because it is about rich, famous and stylish and fashion and all that sort of thing. So it is logical that they're not gonna just show like dead bodies on the covers of Vogue or scared children, because that is not the audience for that. Just like you wouldn't see Beyonce on the cover of Human Rights Watch report, because it has nothing to do with that. But if the topic is important enough, there are another instruments that are used to cover it. So Human Rights Watch would show children from affected areas, Vogue would show affected areas and the First Lady and Ukrainian brands and show their support in this way. So again, another irrelevant argument which just should have stayed in the draft.
But instead we get this, full makeup, hair, and also another designer outfit. It's sort of glamorization of something that's absolutely not glamorous at all, and very much an ego piece for both of them.
And then she goes on to show in the photo of the First Lady and her sitting on the stairs, which in itself is an iconic photo that started the whole challenge Sit Like a Girl in Ukraine, where basically women and also soldiers and doctors and all Ukrainian women were posting photos in this pose, for which the First Lady was criticized for sitting like that in not very feminine and dainty way. So I think it is definitely a very powerful photo, and the fact that there are sand sacks on the back, so basically they are used to protect the walls from crumbling and the ceiling from crumbling if the bomb hits the place, which is very gruesome reference, but it is there. That's our reality. Most of the places in Ukraine have this sand sacks for protection. If you also look closely at the photo, you can see how tired she looks. I don't know why and where they saw any glamorization or glamour in those photo shoots, because they are nothing but plainly dressed and very modest makeup, and you can see how tired they are on their faces, except for like heavily photoshopped photos together. And I don't understand why that would be a problem, but anyways.
It's also reported that since the war, over 12 MPs from Ukraine have purchased multi-million-dollar ski chalets in Switzerland. I just don't feel like this article represents the actual war and what the poorest of the poor are going through.
And then she goes on to providing some articles from a random website. And an article is written by Baxter Dmitry, who I assume is probably Russian. So, Basti, you better do your homework before sharing such opinions. And then she's saying that she doesn't feel that this article represents the actual horror of the war and what poorest of the poor are going through, and that's I think the final thing that I want to discuss, that Ukraine is viewed by the West just as other countries like Syria and African countries that's been going through wars is viewed like this miserable, terrible state. But what West doesn't understand is that Syria was flourishing, blooming, wonderful place where people loved going for holidays before the war started. What they don't understand is that Ukraine is a beautiful place. People are happy to live here. People want to live here because it's freedom, it's dignity. There is just so much beauty in the culture and in the country itself. But no, in the Western mind, it does not click that actual victims of the war can be heroes. Because if you're a victim, you have to be poor, you have to be miserable, you have to beg for help. But in reality, with Ukraine, we see that it's not the case. People are fucking badass and doing some crazy stuff to protect and defend their country. A lot of people from show business, from entertainment industry, took arms and went to the front lines to defend their countries, because that's what you do for the place you love. And it has nothing to do with your financial or material status. It's just the values that you hold. But for the West, they don't want to help the strong. They want to help the miserable, because a lot of white savior complex is still prevalent and is still the driving force in these humanitarian missions. For example, when we look at the Red Cross and international organizations who turned out to be completely useless in terms of Ukraine and for Ukraine, because they realize that bringing a bottle of water to Ukraine is actually not enough. We can actually have and get our own water, like bring arms or help our prisoners of war to not be killed and mutilated. So the only thing that these controversial opinions actually bring attention to is to the fact that the perception of the Eastern Europe and war is so warped and distorted in the West that people struggle to give adequate explanation and to form adequate opinions, because everything unfortunately is still observed through white savior complex, and that's, I guess, something that you maybe also should check within yourself, because self-improvement and acknowledgement of this fault is what can only bring you forward and help you to be a better person in the future. But anyways, I am glad that you joined me on this terrible controversial opinions that nobody asked for video. And I hope that at least you enjoyed a little bit and that you learned something from this video. And if you did, I also hope that you subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to leave your opinions in the comments. And I hope that they will be critically thought through. And I see you in the next video. Bye.